If you're trying to decide whether a shuffleboard table belongs in your family room, who should actually get the Challenger model, who would be better off skipping it, and does it really make sense for an everyday buyer's budget? That's the question I asked myself before I even pulled the box out of the delivery truck. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon, and I spent a weekend setting it up, playing a few rounds with my teenage cousins, and watching a couple of friends try to teach their kids the basics. The whole experience gave me a feel for the moments that matter, the first-time excitement, the occasional frustration when the puck drifts, and the quiet satisfaction of a smooth slide across a solid surface. Let's start with the kind of household that actually benefits from this sort of investment. If you have a dedicated game room, a finished basement, or even a larger dining area where the table can sit without crowding the space, the Challenger becomes a centerpiece that invites repeated play. Families that enjoy a low-tech, face-to-face competition tend to get the most mileage. I saw my cousins set up a mini tournament after school, and the built-in dual Abacus scorers saved us from pulling out a separate notebook every time someone reached 10 points. For adults who host game nights or want a casual way to unwind after work, the table offers a tactile break from screens that feels more social than a video game. On the flip side, if you're living in a small apartment, or you're only looking for a piece that you can pull out once a month for a novelty experience, you might want to think twice. The Challenger's footprint is sizable, the Playfield alone stretches over 8 feet, and the cabinet adds a few more inches on each side. Even though it comes with leg levelers, getting it perfectly flat on a carpeted floor can be a chore, and the weight of the Hardwood Playfield, 1.5 inches thick, makes moving it a two-person job at best. For renters or anyone who might need to rearrange their living space frequently, the commitment feels a bit heavy. Now, let's talk about the actual playing experience, because that's where the rubber meets the road. The Hardwood Playfield is the standout feature. At 1.5 inches thick, the surface feels substantially more stable than the thin laminate you'll see on budget tables. When you launch a puck, the glide is consistent, and the bounce off the carpeted gutters is predictable, something I noticed right away when the puck stayed in the lane instead of skittering off at odd angles. That consistency is what serious shuffleboard enthusiasts look for, and it also means beginners don't get discouraged by random bad rolls that feel like equipment failure. The built-in scorers are another practical win. Instead of scribbling scores on a piece of paper and risking a lost tally, the dual Abacus lets two sides keep track simultaneously. The design is straightforward, you move the beads up as points are earned, and they stay put even if the table is bumped. It eliminates a small but annoying friction point, especially when you're in the middle of a tight match and don't want to pause to write things down. Storage is where the Challenger tries to be clever. The cabinet, finished in a dark cherry MDF, houses 8 pucks, a brush, and wax right under the playing surface. That means you don't have to hunt for accessories around the house, everything is tucked away and protected from dust. In practice, the cabinet feels solid when you close the doors, but the MDF core isn't the same as solid hardwood. Over years of opening and closing, you might notice the doors becoming a little looser, especially if the room's humidity fluctuates. That's a trade-off you get for a more affordable finish, but it's not a deal-breaker unless you plan on moving the table often. Speaking of humidity, the table includes climate adjusters, which is a nice nod to the fact that wood expands and contracts with temperature changes. In my experience, setting the adjusters correctly after the first week of use helped keep the surface from developing any subtle warps. If you live in a region with harsh seasonal swings, taking a few minutes to tweak those screws could save you from having the puck bounce unpredictably later on. What about the assembly process? The package arrives in several large pieces, and you'll need a basic toolbox, a screwdriver, a wrench, and a level. The instructions are clear, but you should expect to spend an hour or two, especially if you're the type who likes to double-check every bolt. Once the legs are secured and the levelers are adjusted, the table sits firmly. The downside is that the sheer size of the components makes maneuvering them through narrow doorways a challenge. I ended up disassembling the cabinet from the base to get it through my hallway, which added about 30 minutes to the setup time. Now let's address the price question head-on. The Challenger sits in the mid-range for home shuffleboard tables. You're paying for the thick hardwood Playfield, the